It's so disgusting. I can't stand thinking about it, to be honest with you. I like revealing creeps and evil and stuff, but like the amount of death that these people have done, I'm disgusted. I'm fucking disgusted right now. I can't, like that, like Ben Shapiro. He deserves to be in prison. I'm dead serious. Like, he should be imprisoned. He advocates war. And for people whose kids would end up in war, I would end up in war. It's like, oh God, they're so disgusting. Imagine my son coming home without an arm, you know, with PTSD, a heroin addiction, suicidal thoughts, a moral wound. Because Ben Shapiro wanted to take out Syria because of Birch Gold and Bowen Branch promo codes. I'd kill the guy. God, this is so sad. It's so sad what they do to our boys. You know, I had a buddy die. I used to play lacrosse with him. He died in just a training exercise in Iraq. No reason, pointless. Ben Shapiro wants to sell his goddamn sheets. You know, my buddy, Roki, Justin Roki. Let's honor Roki. This is one of my best friends in the Adirondacks. This is like, he loved comedy, dude. He loved comedy. My brother hired him to do tree work because he was so fucked up from the war, right? And he called it treehab because he was on heroin. And he got off heroin and he needed a mission. He used to call my brother team leader, TL. He'd be like, TL, what do I do? And it was called, my Facebook picture that I'm not even allowed on Facebook, but it's me and him sitting in little chairs that we made with chainsaws out of tree stumps. They're called friendship chairs. And so we called it treehab. He called it treehab. He's like, dude, treehab. Because he just needed a fucking mission, or else he would have killed himself with heroin. Okay, this is my buddy, Nick wrote this. Justin Roki is dead. I consider him a friend, although there are several who are in a better position to write this than I am. By the way, Pappy served in the Army. His brother served in the Army. All of us, not me, but like my people served as Ben Shapiro moves, you know, lines on the sand. What was that Pink Floyd lyric? Forward they cried, from the rear and the front rank died. The general sat, and the lines on the map moved from side to side. Listen to that again. Forward they cried, from the rear and the front rank died. The general sat, and the lines on the map moved from side to side. Ben Shapiro is one of those guys, and he watches the lines move from side to side because of his disgusting paranoia. He's an American citizen, and all he can think about is Israeli global dominance, is our friends die. Justin Roki was a musician, an artist, a storyteller, an athlete with a Division I baseball scholarship, a champion high school quarterback. In his journal, empty except for a few paragraphs, he described himself: a veteran, a fatherless son, a cancer survivor, a heroin addict. Me and my brother and Guck were the guys that had to clean out his house. I still have run, bike, swim, his fucking thing on my wall. Ben Shapiro is a cunt. I'm unsure of where his death will fall as a statistic. Likely as an opioid overdose, but that would mask the true nature of his death. It's more accurate to say that he died as a Marine in Afghanistan. As part of the Corps 3-2 Scout Sniper Platoon in Helmand Province, where he did and saw all things war and where he was exposed to drugs, the former driving the need for the latter. I'm unsure of his thoughts on the war in Afghanistan before he served, but after he served, he was against it. Quote unquote, you can't just give a 19-year-old a rifle and tell him to go kill everything. Justin's best friend, Marine Corps Sergeant Mark Bradley was killed by an IED, wounded in Afghanistan. He later died in the United States. Justin watched a fellow Marine die from an IED blast. The explosion separated the Marine in two, severing him at the waist. You know what? As I read this, I am going to also put up a picture of Ben Shapiro. This is why I despise this little piece of shit. These are the wars he advocates. These are the wars he will never fight in. These are the wars he profits from. These are the wars that these fucking stupid little Jew fuckers. All right, this is going up. Why do you think I can't stand these fucking people? All right, here we go. That's Roki, and here's Ben. Here's Ben the Jew. What did the word Jew offend you, Ben? Well, I'm offended by my friend who fucking killed himself. Okay, there's Ben. Let's start reading that again. So there's Ben and there's Roki. He's a cancer survivor, by the way. His father ended up homeless and died. And that, all right. Justin watched a fellow Marine die in an IED blast. The explosion separated the Marine in two. The Marine died after 20 minutes of pain and yelling. The explosion somewhat categorized the wound, preventing instant loss of blood. Quote unquote, I have medals, I have accolades, I'm the elite of the elite. I need you to know this about me. I'm the upper 1%. I'm a murderer. I've killed more people than I have fingers or toes. It was Justin's platoon that made headlines for the video surfacing of Marines urinating on a dead Taliban fighter in 2011. The enemy were killed while platoon roadside bombs. The same type of bombs mentioned above and the same type that killed another Marine just prior to the video. The Taliban strung that Marine's body parts from a tree. Sergeant Robert Richards, identified in this video, was publicly castigated and officially court-martialed. He is now dead. He survived wounds from an IED blast but was killed by an accidental overdose of his prescribed medications. Did I tell you that Ben Shapiro's wife is a doctor? A veteran of 3 tours in Afghanistan, he's now buried at Arlington National Cemetery. His story helps to explain Justin's story. Quote unquote, once Gunny died, we just started killing anything Muslimish. Justin once walked into the barracks in Afghanistan to see a friend using a knife trying to amputate his own arm. Justin would also tell the story of the time he shot a shepherd. He watched through a scope as the man's daughter tried picking up the pieces of the brain and skull. A macabre version of Humpty Dumpty. Quote unquote, I'm an innocent murderer living here today scot-free. Because that's what you wanted me to do. You gave me medals and ribbons, you gave me pats on the back and ruffled my hair, and I murdered people. Now send me back to civilization, send a murderer back. Murder is murder. No matter what continent it's on or thousands of miles away, it's still something. After Afghanistan, Justin kept a pistol in his car but stopped after realizing he wanted to use it while driving or waiting in line at a drive-thru. He couldn't sleep. Insomnia. His mind was always overloaded and racing. Thoughts of the people he has killed. Not all. Some he was glad to kill, but certain ones did haunt him. Thoughts of seeing others killed. He never stopped being a sniper. He constantly thought about his surroundings, ways he would set up if he needed to kill again. He was constantly on edge, constantly trying to keep his mind occupied, constantly trying to live, constantly racing and constantly in need of more, constantly fighting, chasing and feeling of combat. Being chased by the feelings of combat. Constantly. Quote unquote, ended up drinking a handful of tall boys and blew $400 on scratch-off tickets. It's the adrenaline, I suppose. It's just a release, and I need to get it through the day. Skipped the gym and watched a bunch of movies. I really don't like myself. Unquote. The multiple MRIs and CT scans of Justin's brain showed literally that his brain physically changed from the war. Can one ever be the same with a changed brain? On my way to work on Wednesday, I saw an ambulance and police car racing down the road in the direction of his apartment, and I wondered for a brief, non-serious moment if they were for him. Later that afternoon, my fleeting thought became reality.
Maybe I'm crazy.
We went to his apartment that evening.
Maybe I'm crazy.
We didn't know how it works. Does his mother have to come get his belongings? We just wanted to make it decent for his mother. I didn't want her to see anything drug related. Dude, I was right there. Typing that seems idiotic. Her son died of a drug overdose. Fuck. Hang on. She knew and knows about his addiction, but still we wanted to help in some way. A friend took his guitar. That was my brother.
I remember when I lost my mind.
We didn't want it to disappear, and we'll deliver it to his mother.
Does that make me
Fuck!
crazy?
There were no illegal drugs, but bottle after bottle of prescription drugs, all prescribed roughly 10 pills a day to treat his PTSD. Identified from the military paperwork thumbtacked on the wall as 9411 post-traumatic stress disorder. The picture of at the top of the fuck. The picture at the top of this page was next to the paperwork. In the corner, a syringe of Narcan, designed to save those in the midst of an opioid overdose. The same friend with the guitar, a friend to Justin who helped him as best he could, and perhaps as best as anyone could, said this choking back tears in the backseat of my car. It's my brother. He just wanted to be normal like you and me. He wanted to live so bad, and he tried so hard, but he couldn't beat it. He wanted a family, and he wanted kids. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to die. Of course he didn't. The world he lived in made it hard. He lived in a world where people do not even know what IED stands for, do not know what Helmand Province is or what it stands for, in a world that saw President Obama escalate the war in Afghanistan, having over 75% of the war's casualties occur during his time in office. In a world that has now the Taliban and other similar factions controlling 85% of Helmand Province, a troop surge for no purpose. A world where the media cavalry calls Al-Qaeda rebels in Syria. A world where, despite the majority of Americans' heroin coming from Mexico, one is labeled a racist for wanting to secure the border. A world where during the election cycle of 2016, despite thousands of hours of coverage, the war in Afghanistan was forgotten. In a world that shares memes that say the U.S. does not have any major wars despite U.S. service members still dying in them. Despite the U.S. dropping over 30,000 bombs in 2016. He was trying to live in a world where people are asinine enough to suggest a war can be minor. Are we truly that naive? He's trying to live in that world. When it chooses, we'll endlessly discuss Obamacare, Trumpcare, Ryancare, but no one seems to care that the Veterans Administration still has staffing shortages, still has long wait times for veterans to receive care, still has substandard facilities, and despite 20 veterans dying of suicide every day, still has a suicide hotline with a 30-minute fucking delay. He was trying to live in a world where his platoon only made national headlines after the 39-second urinating video became public, not for any of their missions, not for amassing 223 confirmed kills, not for innovating sniper and tank tactics, not for acts of heroism, not for when team leader Sergeant Nate Hervey was awarded a Bronze Star with Valor, just for the piss video. He was trying to live in a world in Saranac Lake where the town rallied behind the cause to help a man who happened to be Muslim and from India obtain a travel visa after he was previously denied. He was heralded as a mini celebrity and promptly featured in the local paper. Within days, he was arrested for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old. That is the same town that just this week became outraged at the prospect of St. Joseph's Addiction Treatment and Recovery Center needing to relocate. Residents did not want the patients in their neighborhoods. Justin was receiving treatment at St. Joe's. He was never made into a celebrity. He was never been in the paper. Agree or disagree? Fuck, dude, I gotta get through this. Justin would tell the story of Iron John. He would fucking always talk about Iron John. Sorry, no, this is pussy. Ah, fuck, faggot. He always talked about Iron John. A story about a boy becoming a man. A story. A story about the wild man at the bottom of the lake. A story about the wild man that is in all of us. It just remains dormant. Perhaps it only comes out in those who suffer the savagery of war. A story about the wild man that is in all of us. It just remains dormant. Perhaps it only comes out in those who suffer the savagery of war. Not only in the dormant, but constantly reliving those horrors. In a brain not designed to cope with them. In a body that can't sleep. A wild man that cannot be tamed after being exposed to combat. Justin is dead, and it is horrible. Another victim of war, truly another victim of 9/11. As for the political speak in his commentary, don't worry, Justin would have approved. He loved to hate politicians. He said he'd rather kill 10 corrupt politicians than one Taliban member. Semper Fi, Justin. Fuck. Oh, God. I'm sorry for crying, but I haven't read that in a long time.